What's up, everybody? Welcome and welcome back to my channel. If you're an aspiring high achiever who wants to close the gap between intention and execution, you're absolutely in the right place. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a concept called learned helplessness that I found in this book titled Get It Done by Ayelet Fishbach. If you haven't read this book, I highly recommend it. A little bit heavy on the psychology, and it is quite easy to get bogged down whilst you're reading it, so it's quite heavy. But once you get past that, I think it's a really, really interesting book to read before you start setting your goals for the new year, because it really gives you tools and helps you understand how you can get your goals from just something that you write on a piece of paper to actually getting it done. So I recommend this book. So, learned helplessness. In the 1960s, there was a psychologist called Martin Seligman. And Martin Seligman and his colleagues ran a very, very interesting experiment. They took 3 sets of dogs. And in the first set of dogs, the dogs were just put in their harnesses and they were just left to be. In the second group of dogs, they were sat in front of a panel. And as they were sat in front of a panel, the dogs would get electric shocks. And at any point, the dogs could press on the panel and the shocks would stop. There was a third group of dogs, which was the most unlucky of the 3 groups. And these dogs, they couldn't do anything. So they would receive electric shocks, but there was nothing they could do about it. They couldn't escape, they couldn't shut it off, they couldn't do anything about it. And so after this first set of experiments, they took the dogs to a second stage. And in this stage, the dogs were put in a place that had 2 chambers. At any point, the dogs could jump out of one chamber to another where there were no shocks. So they could escape the shocks, basically. So they found out that the first group of dogs who had just been in their harnesses and didn't receive any shocks, they figured out how to escape the electric shocks from one chamber to the next. The second group of dogs that sat in front of the panel and could shut the panel off, they also most of them escaped from the chamber that had the electric shocks to the chamber that didn't. What was interesting was the third group of dogs that didn't have any control over the electric shocks in the beginning were now in a state of, I guess, resignation, because they found that most of the dogs who'd been through that experience of not being able to shut off the electric shocks most of them didn't try to escape the electric shocks, because at that point, I guess in their mind, they'd already conditioned themselves to believe that there was nothing they could do. This was it. There was nothing they could do to shut off the electric shocks. And that was really, really interesting. They did a similar experiment for humans. And in the human experiment, they took people and divided them into 3 groups. The first group was put in a place where they didn't have any noise. And then the second group was put in an environment where they would start blaring music whilst they're trying to solve a puzzle. But in that situation, the people in the experiment could choose to shut the music off if they pressed the button 4 times. And then there was a third test group where, they had the loud music but didn't have any control over when to turn it on or off if they didn't want it. So they took the human test subjects into another space. And in this space, they all had the option of turning the music off if they didn't want it. The first group and most of the participants chose to turn it off. The second group, same story. But the third group, who had been through the process of, being exposed to loud music and not having any option to turn it off, most of them didn't even try to turn off the loud music in their new situation. This experiment shows and brings out the idea of learned helplessness. It shows that sometimes when we get negative feedback from our life experiences, it is easy to look at the negative feedback and accept that we have no control over a particular area of our lives. There are many things in my life that I have tried once, and because I got negative feedback, either from just seeing the outcome of the activity, like drawing an art, or from what others have mentioned to me, that I never gave it a second chance. So I took the negative feedback as finality, as, I am no good at this, and I probably shouldn't even try again because I'm no good at this. There are many things in our lives that we stop trying in, that we stop striving for, that we stop doing because of this concept of learned helplessness, learning from negative feedback that I will never be good at, and concluding that I will never be good at this, and concluding that I probably shouldn't even try to change the situation. I really, really love a book called Mindset, written by Carol S. Dweck, and I have spoken about that book on this channel a number of times. And she talks about the two types of mindset in life. There is a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is one that believes that it is not really possible to develop and to grow. So we think that there are some people who are born intelligent, who are just intelligent, and will always remain intelligent. And there are some people who are not intelligent. And so if I am no good at something, I probably should not even put in that much effort because I'm no good at it. I was just born not good at it. But that is not the correct approach or the correct mindset. Feedback for us, negative feedback, should be a learning opportunity, an opportunity to learn how not to do something, an opportunity to do or see things differently or to approach things differently. But if you are somebody who's got the fixed mindset, it is easy for feedback to become what it was for these dogs, or for the humans that went through this experiment. It becomes a feedback that, I can't do anything about this situation. This situation is just going to be what it is. But that's probably not the best approach. I really like the concept of a growth mindset that Carol Dweck talks about. So she talks about the fixed mindset, and then she talks about the growth mindset. The growth mindset takes a negative experience as feedback on how you can learn, how you can grow, how you can become better, how you can change your approach. And so most people who have got the growth mindset actually welcome negative feedback as an opportunity to learn something new and something different. When they get something wrong, it's actually a challenge to say, a good challenge. My boss always says everything is a good challenge. Everything is a good challenge. I feel like, even if everything is falling apart, he will say it's a good challenge, because really, when you look at it, it is an opportunity to reassess, to reanalyze, to look at things differently, and to get a new experience and a new perspective. So that's really what I wanted to share with you today, the concept of learned helplessness, that it is easy for us through the negative feedback that we get to develop a fixed mindset, to develop a mindset that stops trying and stops thriving because we feel in our core that our efforts will not make a difference. But instead, I implore you to adopt a growth mindset, a mindset that looks at negative feedback as an opportunity to grow, as an opportunity to learn something new, and as an opportunity to do things differently. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate your company. Give this video a thumbs up if you would love to see more content like this, and if you liked this video. So, don't let learned helplessness write your story. Take one small step. Start today. Start now. Don't put it off until tomorrow. And as you're doing so, share this video with someone you know needs this reminder as well. Thank you so much. Until next time. See ya.